was my sunroof. Good morning, everyone. All right. Oh, look at these clouds. Like, it looks like it's gonna rain or something. Oh, that would be cool. We need some. I need some. Oh, wow, they look amazing over there. It would be nice if it rained. Ooh, big rain. Something happened with my sprinkler system about 4 days ago. And water was just gushing all over the place. And so I had to turn it off. And so that's why I say I need some rain, because my plants haven't been watered in some days. And I'm so busy with work, I don't have time to fix it, but I'm gonna have to make time. Anyway, so yesterday I made a video and I did not upload it, and I was actually gonna completely delete it. But because of what I'm gonna talk about today, I will end up uploading it later on. So yesterday I talked about Cryon, and the reason why I brought Cryon up is because someone brought it up to me, asking me some questions about Cryon, and this fool is just driving way too fast behind me, and what is that? A Tesla? I don't know what that is. They're just driving way too cray-cray. Anyway, they had asked me a question about Cryon, and so I answered it, and I was talking about, other channeled entities, but what I wanted to talk about today is, it has to do with that, but I guess that I would title this, I had a title when I was combing my hair, but now I forgot what it was. Understanding, give me a second, understanding the framework of our creation. So that is the title of this video, and it's going to encompass all of it. The reason why I wanted to bring this up, because it's so important, because I have, there are people who comment on my videos because they don't understand where I'm coming from. And the reason why they don't, well, I don't want to say they don't understand it. I will say that they don't want to accept it. And that's fine, they don't have to. But the reason why they don't want to accept it, the reason why they can't allow themselves to accept it, is because they already hold something within themselves, and they know it to be true for themselves. And so that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We all are entitled to believe whatever we want to believe. God has given us that gift. But it is that gift that we have misused, and so this is why we are in the state that we're in now. This is why we experience the pain and suffering that we experience, because we have taken that gift and we don't understand it. And beyond that, most of us, most people on the planet, don't even want to take the time to understand it. And so this is why I think it's important to understand the framework of our creation. So, Cryon and other entities claim to be these God source energy entities. Are connected to source, whether it's Abraham, or it's Cryon, or it's the 13th Arcturian dimension, 13th dimensional Arcturian, or the 18th dimension, or whatever, or this alien or that alien that's associated with this high dimension. The thing is, if you do not understand dimensions, if you do not understand the laws that are governed, that allow these dimensions to be created, then you will always be deceived. This is why it's easy for me to tell if someone is being honest or not, because I understand the laws. Do I understand all the laws? No, I'm not saying I understand all the laws, but I do understand some laws, and these laws are there to not only guide us, but to protect us. So if we understand that the universe is made in love, and the reason why the universe is made in love is because the Creator is love, and that is how the Creator creates, in love. So everything that the Creator creates is designed, even the laws, the framework for the universe, the framework for our soul, all of the laws are designed to protect us. Why? Because that's a loving thing. However, since we are our own creators, since we are our own beings, we have the ability to use these laws to understand how they work, so that we can understand our environment. And this is all this is. This is what being conscious is about, is understanding your environment, because the environment is part of our experience. Now, we are the soul. We are the one who are put into this environment, and then we're able to create within the environment that has been created for us to create in. But if you don't understand that, and you're just living life willy-nilly, and you're just all about the Democrat and the Republican and the unicorns and the crystal energy and the this and the that and the other, you're just being guided by the things that people have created, but you are not being guided by the laws that have been created for us so that we can create how we would want to experience life. Currently, we do not create the way we want to experience life. That is not what's happening, because I guarantee you ask any person and they will tell you, no, I don't want to create pain for myself, but yet we do it. So we're not using the laws as they are intended to be used, because most people don't understand the laws. But once you understand the universal laws, like the law of attraction. The law of attraction is a real law. It does exist, but most people don't understand what it really is and how it really functions, and the nature of the law. And so this is why people are sitting in, Indian style with their eyes closed, trying to picture something to come to them. Like, I want to manifest money, I want to manifest this, and I want abundance, and I want the bike, and I want the car, and I want the house, and I want the this and the that and the other. It doesn't work that way. But some people believe it works that way. So if you don't understand how the laws are designed and how we're supposed to use these laws, because every law every universal law, every God's law is there to help us create, to help us have an experience that is the best experience possible. But if we do not understand how these laws operate, then we're not able to utilize them as they have been intended for us to use them. So, when going back to these entities like Cryon and all these other source supposedly connected energy to the source or whatever, a celestial being. So when an entity is hot in here, hold on, it's getting hot in here. Okay, Zachary. Oh, it's already hold on a sec. I hit the wrong button. Now I got fumes coming in my car. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Oh, we'll see. Oh, more fumes. Anyway, gosh. Hold on one second. Oh, that made it even worse. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. I had to let the fumes out. So when we're talking about, or these entities who are claiming to be 18th dimension, 13th dimension, 10th dimensional, 11th dimensional, whatever, if they're saying that they are these beings, they are lying. Straight up, flat out lying. And the reason why I'm able to say this is because I understand the laws that are in place that would prevent one of those beings from communicating the way that they communicate. That's how I know. So when someone says, oh, what Cryon is, part of source energy and blah, 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 fine, so be it. I understand you believe it. At one point, I believed it. So I'm not saying it's wrong to believe it. But at some point, I made some decisions by doing some investigation and using logic and saying to myself, well, that can't be true. So this is why it's important to learn these laws. So it's like someone claiming to be an attorney, but they never went to law school and they're not registered with any board of anything. They're claiming to be that, but the truth is they're not. Why? Because there are certain laws in place that prevent someone from being a lawyer if they have not gone through these steps. So it's no different with these beings. Look, anyway, so any being who's claiming to be anything above the sixth dimension, I would say, because that's seventh dimension is a transitional place. But once you reach the eighth dimension, you are then considered a celestial being. And the reason why this is because you have now accepted the truth of who you are, what you are, and you accept the laws that are in place, the universal laws. And so one of these universal laws or gifts is the gift of free will. But there are laws in place that prevent people from overstepping their bounds and taking away your free will. And so understand what free will is. And this is important because if there is a celestial being, that celestial being will always, without a doubt, recognize the free will that each and every single soul has. If they are a celestial being, they recognize God's laws and God's gifts, and they understand what is a violation of these things. If you are if they are a non-celestial being, meaning sixth dimension and below, they do not have, well, I'm not going to say they don't have that understanding, but they will not abide by the law or the rule that says you're not supposed to impose your own will upon someone. So when we're listening to people or to entities like Cryon or Bashar or Abraham Hicks, who give you guidance, who tell you what to do and what not to do, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and Cryon does this. I've heard Cryon say this, so this is how I know he's not a celestial being or who he claims to be. Because he's not recognizing the free will of the people who he's talking to, his audience. And so when people go and they say, stop spinning, like he uses this term spinning. If you're a light worker and you're, doing negative stuff, you have to stop that because you're not being loving. A celestial being will never tell you to do that. A celestial being will recognize your free will to make any choice that you want based on your own desire, based on your own will. That's it. This is why a celestial being will never come in and channel and give not advice, but they won't tell you how to live your life. And these other beings will tell you how to live your life. And this is the difference. This is how you know. If you understand that law, that the law that says you're not supposed to impede upon someone else's free will, you're not supposed to take that away, you're not supposed to influence, because this is what happens, is you have these beings who are coming in and trying to influence you to live a certain way. And they're saying, well, this is wrong and that's wrong and this is right and you should do it this way and you should do it that way. No. A celestial being will actually, depending on, because let's just take your guide and your guardian as an example. These guides and guardians that we all have, they understand your free will, and they will never do anything to take that away from you. Now, they have a role, and their role is to guide you and protect you. So your guardian is going to protect you so that you can have a life experience here without cutting it short too early. Does that make sense? So your guardian is there to protect you from things that you may may happen to you, so they can protect you in that way. So they may give you if you're about to do something, and they may give you a little impression of, you may have a feeling like, oh, something's not right here. Well, they may be giving you that impression, but they're not going to control you so that you do something that you don't want to do. So if your desire is to really snort cocaine, and there's cocaine all around you, and you're having that desire, and the guardian knows that this could potentially harm you, then they will give you this impression like, hey, question what you're doing. Or, you may have this feeling where, it's like something comes over you, it's like, I feel like I shouldn't be doing that. But you still have the free will to do it. They're not going to control you to not do it. They'll allow you to do it if that's what you want to do, because that's your free will. Now, some people may be looking at this and say, hey, well, that's unloving. No, it's unloving for yourself to decide to snort cocaine. That is what's unloving. They are abiding by God's law, which is let you do whatever the heck you want to do because you have free will to do that. And so the same thing with a guide. A guide will guide you so that you can make the right decisions if they understand that you're not fully aware of what you're doing. But if you have your sole purpose is to do whatever it is you want to do, because that's what you want to do, they have to let you do it. They cannot violate the gift that you have been given of free will. There are laws that prevent that. And if they did that, they would be hurting themselves. Because every single time a spirit tries to control you, sorry. Every time a spirit uses their will to change your will, I'm sorry, I don't know if I said that right. If a spirit uses their will to change your will, they are in violation, and they will also degrade their own soul. And this is why a celestial being would never, ever, ever attempt to take away your free will. And they will never try to get you to live by their will. Like whatever desire they have for you, they will never, ever attempt to convince you that their way is the right way and your way is the wrong way. Never, ever, ever. So anytime you hear a channeled entity such as Cryon or Bashar or Abraham or there's all kinds of, there's one called the Creators. That one's crazy. You should look him up. Look him up. I think his name is Zachary? Oh Lord. I think he channels the Creators, and his name is Zachary, or he channels an entity named Zachary or Zachariah or something like that. But look him up and look at look at how he channels. It cracks me up every time I see it. He bangs his hands together and he waves them all around as he's talking because there's too much energy in his body, which is an indication that that spirit is not supposed to be in his body like that. But whatever, that's a different story. So, you know, when you hear these entities, you know, tell you what to do and how you should live life, no, they will never do that. What a celestial being would do is just talk about what is loving. They'll talk about what is the way to achieve whatever it is, to achieve a more loving, to have more love in your heart. This is all they're going to talk about. They will not talk about what you're doing is wrong. No. They will talk about the things that are loving. They will talk about how to achieve that place and that state. And the reason why they do this is because they're just trying to inform you so that you can use your free will to make the choice to live by whatever the teachings that they're giving you. That's it. That's all celestial beings do. So they don't interfere. They're not doing what Cryon's doing. And I'll put a link in the description of what an actual celestial being sounds like how they communicate. And also understand that if someone is, like, even the video that I'm going to put in the description box with the celestial being channeled, understand that, and I'll put one, you know what, I'll put one where it's going to be with AJ and Mary, but I'll list the one where AJ explains. If you watch it closely, what you will notice is that some of the things that Mary is saying, like the channel, when Mary's channeling the celestial being, a lot of it gets misinterpreted. And AJ points that out to the audience. He says, Mary, this is what they were really saying, and some of the things won't make sense, and he'll point that out. And the reason why he's pointing that out is because he's letting the audience know that the condition of the medium is going to determine how the information is interpreted by the celestial being. So the celestial being may be conveying certain thoughts and emotions and feelings, but if Mary is not able to is filtering that through her emotional injuries, it won't come out the way the celestial being wants it to come out. I'm not getting in front of that big rig. I was going to. I'll come in right here and do this hard stop. I'll go way over here and get out of everybody's way. There we go. So this is why it's so important to know the universal laws that are in place. Because this is what allows you to make sense of things. Because the laws are the structure of, it's the laws of the structure of the universe. And if you understand the laws, then you understand the structure of the universe. And if you understand the structures of the universe, you know how to operate within the universe. You know how to function. You know how to accept certain things and reject certain things. This is someone had asked me, well, actually a lot of people asked me, they're like, how do you know this stuff? Like, how do you know all of this stuff? Well, it's like how, and I understand the question. The question is, how can you understand this stuff to be true but not this other stuff? And the only reason why I'm able to do that is because I'm learning about the laws. The laws are the framework that allow things to happen. These laws that I talked about, that I mentioned, like I mentioned earlier, these laws are made in love. And so these laws are in place to help us as human beings, as souls, not just as human beings, but as souls, because these universal laws are the same universal laws that are applied to other worlds that are out there. There's like 7 or 8 other worlds that are similar to ours, but we don't know them. And the only reason why I found out is because someone had, I mentioned this before, but it conversed with someone in one of these AJ's, I think it was a Q&A. Someone had asked, about him being, who he is, and are you the only one? And he said no. He goes, there's others like myself who were the first ones to discover God, because aside from Adam and Eve, from all that time, no one has actually discovered these universal laws and God's love and things like that. So others have figured that out on other planets, on other worlds, however you want to say it. So we're not the only ones, but these laws are across the board, because the whole universe is made in love. So God only creates in love, and so all the universal laws are going to be made in like. And so this is how it's easy to understand what's going on other planets, what's going on here, what's going on with their soul, what's going on, with people. Like, how can you figure this out? Like, I was as I was getting ready and thinking about this topic, I was thinking about people at work and certain facial expressions. I'm like, there's even that, like facial expressions, like there's laws, like there's this law that says if you see this certain facial expression, then something is going on with this person. But what do you know? Like, if someone is telling you something and they want you to believe it, no, this is not going to happen. I don't care if it's not going to happen today. This is too many cars. People tripping. Everyone's trying to hop over. I'm not trying to hop. I just want to get in a good place. I'm gonna get right here behind this Prius. I ain't got time for anything else. Oh my God, what was I just saying? See, that's what happened. I got competitive. I was not gonna let this car overtake me. Let me see, what was I saying? Well, while I'm thinking about that, I'm gonna have some of this delicious LaCroix. If someone is talking to you and trying to convince you of something, but yet you see a certain look on their face, like they're trying to look at you to see, like, because people do this all the time. They will try to convince you of something. You're not gonna go? Well, fine then, stay there. I ain't got time for it. They will try to convince you of something, or they're saying something to you, but then they give you that little look, like they're looking at the corner of their eye to see your reaction. And so this is letting you know that they're reading you. So the facial expressions in itself is part of a law that says if you see this, then it's not genuine. Like, it's a thing. Like, it's a real thing that you recognize. And so all of these laws, I don't even think people think about this stuff. Like, all of these laws and rules are in place to help you discern. And so, I mean, just something as small as a facial expression. Like, someone can, like, have a facial expression like, yeah, right. But they're saying, oh, yeah, I believe you. But you already have been given the information to discern whether or not they're being genuine or not. Like, that is a law. And we live by that law. Like, we know how to discern this facial expression. So that facial expression means this. This facial expression means that. This action means this. Do you understand? Like, all of this is put in place. Like, our bodies, how it's created, how and the different things that it can do, what it represents. So if someone is being untruthful, and you can tell by facial expression, don't you think God put that in place to help you use discernment so that you know not to get caught up in some bullshit? Come on, people. I'm saying it's it's easy stuff. Easy peasy. It's easy if you learn the universal laws, but if you believe that you don't need to learn these things and they don't exist, and you understand what is already, and you don't need any help from anybody, and whatever religion or faith or theory or philosophy you have bought into, you think that's it, then fine, so be it. But understand that you are always, guaranteed, always going to run into some problems. Because you don't have the foundation. The foundation of what? The foundation of truth. All God's laws, all of the Creator's laws, all of the universal laws are made in truth. They're made in love, and they go together. So this is how you are able to use discernment. Easy. You know when something is not right off the bat. You just, even before something fully comes out of someone's mouth, you already know it's not true. That's an amazing thing to have. But you cannot have that if you don't understand the framework. That's me honking. I ain't got time for people to be on their phones at these green lights. I gotta get to work. So, this is why it's important, people, to understand the framework. This is, if you are interested in learning these laws, learning the framework of our existence, then continue to listen to AJ stuff. Like, all these principles, put them into place, put them into practice. Understand that you will not have to ask anyone any questions if you have the universal laws and principles that God has put in place. If you know these, you can answer your own questions. This is why I don't have to ask anybody any questions, because I already have the framework that will yield the answer. I already have the framework to understand what the heck is going on. This is why I don't have to ask questions. I don't have to ask, hey, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? You just don't need that stuff. And I know you're not going to try to hop in front of me, because that's not going to happen this morning, darling. Yeah. And that's, let me talk about that for a minute. Having that ability to know where people are coming from, even when they don't understand where they're fully coming from, that's an amazing gift, people. And it's still kind of foreign to me. I can say that. It's not, I don't see it as this thing like, oh yeah, I know about people, and I know what you're thinking before you even know. Like, that's weird to me. Just that perspective is weird. But the whole idea of knowing where people are coming from, to understand someone when they don't understand themselves, it's weird. It's foreign, because it's not how I have lived my life. Like, I've never lived my life like that. I've had uncertainty, and so I know what you guys are experiencing, because I was once there. And there are some things that I'm still uncertain about. But when it comes to people, there's just something about, like, I just know. I know what they're going through. Like, I have conversations with people, and then we're talking about 5-minute, 10-minute conversations, and they have realized something in their lives that they never realized before. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so true. And people are like, how do you know this? Like, and I can't explain that. I just cannot explain. Like, how do you explain how can you explain it? It's not something that I've learned. It's something that has been given to me. But it's only been given to me because I'm willing to use it in a manner that is conducive to love. Like, I'm not using it to manipulate people. I'm not trying to do that. But it is weird. It is foreign. It's a weird feeling to live life like that. And I'm not saying I know everything. That's not what I'm saying. But it's how do I describe that? To be able to just listen to someone's conversation and understand why they're saying the things that they're saying, why they're feeling what they're feeling, why people do the things that they're doing. Like, that stuff is, without having to ask, that is weird. Now that I think about it, it's weird. Because if you look at the human being and how the general population lives and how we're raised, we are raised to not know anything until we ask a question, not until we get a validating answer from someone else. And I don't have to do that anymore. Like, I don't have to ask. I don't have to ask someone, what's going on with you? Like, I already know what's going on with them. So it's just weird. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll stay right here. I'm trying to zigzag all over this road. So anyway, how did I get on that subject? I don't know. But anyway, these entities, these channeled entities, they're not who they claim to be. And if you want to know who they are, like, if you want to know where they're at, then you have to learn these universal laws. You have to learn the laws that are in place that will dictate who these people are, where they are. So I don't know where Cryon. I would assume Cryon is. If I'm assuming, well, I don't want to assume, but anyway, what I do know is that Cryon is not an 8th dimensional being. At least he's not that, because he wouldn't try to steer you in a direction, and tell you what's wrong and tell you what's right and how you should live your life and how to achieve. Like, Cryon will say, you're a light worker. You have to stop doing this and you have to start doing that. That is telling you how to live your life, and understand that that's not allowing you to use your free will to choose. So any being who tells you or who takes away your option to choose is not a celestial being. So a celestial being is in the 8th dimension or above, all the way up to the 36th dimension. These are beings that are considered celestial beings. Most people know them as angels. So once you are at one with at one with God, then you have that divine love within you. And this is why these celestial beings will not violate the universal laws. This is why they respect the gift of free will, because they understand the law of compensation. What is the law of compensation? It's what people know as karma. So the law of compensation will compensate for any unloving act. That is a law of compensation. So anytime you do something that's wrong, that's unloving, I should say. Anytime you do anything that's unloving, then the law of compensation will be engaged to show you that there's something within your soul that is unloving, and then you have lived or acted from that place. That's what the law of compensation is. It is there to compensate for the unloving thing that is within you. So that's why we experience pain. That's why we experience these relationships where we're arguing and someone's hurting our feelings and taking away our rights, or taking away our joy, or taking away the things that we have, or, whatever that's causing, when we have a disease, that's pain. And so it's helping us to realize that there's something within us that needs to be removed. And so this is the law of compensation. It's trying to compensate for the unloving thing that is within your soul. And so people will look at karma, and if you believe the New Age definition of karma, then you're in trouble, because you're not going to figure out anything. You'll just look at it, because the way New Agers look at it is like, okay, you have karma, that means you did something wrong and now you have to pay for it. Okay, but they look at it as punishment. They don't look at it as something to help guide you to improve yourself. It's basically, you have to learn a lesson. Yeah, but why are you learning the lesson? So you can be more loving. Like, that's the whole goal. That's the whole goal of everything. That's the whole goal that God has set out for our soul. And this is why all the universal laws are in place to help us, or to help bring us back into alignment to that loving place that we were when we were first created, before we had any emotional injuries transferred into our soul from our parents. Because all souls are in perfect loving state without divine love, but perfect loving state. And then we come in and we get all this junk just pushed into our soul from our parents, because they didn't deal with it and their ancestors didn't deal with it, all the way back to the first human couple. All right? So just understand, these celestial, these beings that are claiming, oh shit, did you see that? See, people are not paying, they're on their fucking phone. Damn, these people. I tell you, I get so annoyed at these people. I know you guys saw that. I think you guys saw that. It was to the left. Dang, that lady was elderly too. What was she looking at? The sun? Oh my god. Oh my gosh. See, but here's the thing with that. That was someone's law of attraction. That was someone's law of attraction. Now they're gonna look at it as this old battle axe, wasn't paying attention to what she was doing, and she hit that hard. But interesting, her airbag. I didn't see her airbag come out. That's interesting. But I mean, you could see the impact anyway. So that's crazy. Crazy, folks. I tell you, crazy. Hold on, let me get some of this coffee. Welcome to Los Angeles, people. If you don't live here. So these give me a moment. This is too much. Folks on this planet, I tell you, man. Just, I don't know. I see all this stuff happening all over the place. There was something about Flint, Michigan, and their water, and they're saying, I guess, I don't know, the state has declared a national emergency, or the city has, I don't know, somebody has declared a national or some kind of emergency, state of emergency, because there's so much lead in the water, and I'm thinking this entire city is just plagued with lead, and nobody's doing anything about it. Like, there's no effort to, redo the pipes, and, there's just no effort to do anything to fix it, it seems. And so it's like, this is the state of the world that we're in. Like, nobody really gives a flying F at all. I mean, we have these people who we call the government, because that's basically what the government is a group of people. And these group of people that are in this position to help, and to help people have a good life, because that's really what these city officials and government officials are used for. They're supposed to do is to ensure that uh-oh, we got the police coming. Just as long as you hurry up before my green light come on, because I don't want to be sitting here forever. You look at everything that's going on, it's like these government officials are supposed to be in place to ensure that people have clean drinking water. They have a working sewer system, so that the lives of those who live in the city are having a healthy, joyful one. Like, they can actually live their life and function in a manner that's conducive to something that's healthy and produces or an environment for well-being. And they're not doing that. Like, they don't even care. If they cared, something would have been done when it first came out. It was like, oh no, lead in the children, let's fix it. But that's not what's happening. That is not what's happening. So it's just a state of the world. Like, this is what we're seeing all over the place. More and more people, like here in LA, I don't know about other places, but I see a whole bunch of homeless people, and they're popping up all over the place. Places where there were never homeless people. And the reason why is because the places where there are generally homeless people, it's full. Like, if you go over to Skid Row, it looks like there's just ants running all over the place. Like, that's how packed it is. And so you want to be in a place where you can sleep. And so you're going to find a place where you can, set up shop, set up your little home, your little tent, It's just crazy. It's just the state of the world that we're in. This is everything that you see is a result of our soul conditions. So every single homeless person that you see is a result of their soul condition. That's what that is. There's no, oh, it's so unfortunate. No, it's unfortunate that these people don't know anything about their soul. That's unfortunate. It's not unfortunate that they're homeless. It's unfortunate that they don't even know that they can fix it. If they let go, trust me, if If some of these homeless people were just to let go of some of the anger and the pain that they have, they wouldn't be homeless. Look, anything can happen, meaning you can have a millionaire who just drives by and sees this one person on the street, and they have it within themselves. They're like, you know what, I always see this guy. I'm going to stop and talk to him. I want to know what his story is. And if this person has the ability to get him a job and get him cleaned up, and he let's say he could be some kind of software designer. That's, I work, for a program where our clients are mentally ill homeless. And, some of these people are used to work for government agencies. Some of them are engineers, and work for space programs, and now they're homeless. So, the abilities that they have, you just don't know. You don't know the abilities that some of these people have, the skills that they have. And so anything can happen if they were to release the emotional injury that's preventing them from living their dream or having a life of well-being. But understand that if someone is homeless, they're homeless, the universe or their soul has brought them to that place, and the universe is supporting that which is within their soul, so that they can see what is going on within them. There are emotions that are trying to come up from someone being homeless. There are emotions that are trying to come up from that experience. But if you suppress them and don't acknowledge them, and this is with any and everything, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have your car repossessed, if you lose your house, there's an emotion that is going to be associated with that. And it's important to understand what that emotion is and release it. Understand what it is and then release it. And then once it's released, everything changes. There's people who have stories of like, my car was repossessed, and all of a sudden I got this deal in the mail, and they were like, we work with people with this, and we work with people with that, and they have another car. Like, all these different things can happen depending on if they release some of these things that are within them. Or you can use your willpower, but if you use your willpower to go against what's in your soul, you're making things worse, people. You're making things worse. But anyway, back to these entities. So just understand that there are laws in place that that are made in love. And so since they're made in love, they're there to protect those who are loving. Understand? So if you're a loving person and you want to live in truth and you want to be loved, then these laws will help you make decisions to help you discern what is right, or what is loving and what isn't. What is truthful and what is untruthful. This is why it's so important to know these laws. Look, we live in God's universe. So it's in our best interest to learn God's laws. We are governed by these laws. So it's important for us. You would think it would be important to you if you cared about your soul, if you cared about your outcome, if you cared about your experience, if you cared about yourself at all. You would want to know what you're being governed by and how to use these laws in love, how to use them to better your life, and how to understand why someone's experiencing what they're experiencing. Because I know why people are experiencing what they're experiencing. So when they ask me, how do you know all this stuff? It's because I took it upon myself to learn God's universal laws. I made it a point. I made it a point to learn. I had a desire to learn, because none of this could have happened if I didn't have a desire. None of it. I could have heard AJ stuff and be like, oh, he's full of crap. This man doesn't know anything. Oh, he thinks he's Jesus? Whatever. There's all kinds of people who are claiming to be Jesus. But understand that anyone who makes these claims, they're not willing to accept the truth. And so here's the thing with AJ. AJ, claiming to be Jesus. So, when I listened to Cryon, because Cryon seemed to know more than other channeled entities, and this is what I liked about Cryon. He talked about things. He had knowledge about things that others didn't have. But then I came across AJ, and AJ knew things that were beyond what any channeled entity could ever or has ever explained that I've come across. Like, I haven't come across the things that AJ has been talking about. And so I was like, how does this is what I asked myself. how does this man know what these channeled entities know, but know it in greater detail? In so much detail that he can invalidate some of the things that these other channeled entities or these channeled entities were actually claiming. That's what I asked myself. How does this man know this? That's the first thing that came to my mind. Because the difference was, you know, when you're listening to a channeled entity, you're listening to someone who's not here in the physical form. You're listening to someone who's in the non-physical. And so in the mind of someone like myself and other people who were part of this new age, you would listen to these channeled entities and believe it because they were not here. They were in the non-physical, looking at it from a perspective that we here on Earth are not able to see. This is why people listen to channeled entities, and since we see non-physical as where God is, or angels are, or, you know, celestial beings, and this is why New Age people listen to them, because we feel, here on Earth, we feel that they know more because they're already over there. And we can't see that, so we have to take their word for it. So when AJ started speaking, I'm like, he's not even channeling anything. How does this man, this is what I asked myself, how does this man know all of this stuff about the universe? How can he explain all these things about these channeled entities? How is this happening? This is what I asked myself. And the only way you can know these things is if you have been on the other side, what people call the spirit world. How can he know about these things that are happening in the dimensions? Because there are things that he talks about that are happening in the dimensions that Cryon never talked about. Why? Because Cryon has never been there. And so you start to use your logic. If this being is claiming to be a source energy being, but yet he doesn't know what's going on in these higher dimensions, like, how come he doesn't know that spirits have, you know, live life, you know, like we do here in these other dimensions? How come he doesn't mention that? How come he uses this, you know, elusive energy, like, you know, you're just connected to the energy, and you're connected to love, and you're connected to source? He doesn't talk about anything about living in cities. He doesn't talk about how children are creating things, animals and grass, and how, you know, we live in our spirit body and we fly here and there. And so you start to understand that Cryon is full of shit. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is, Cryon is not this all-knowing being that you think he is. And if you know this, like, this is what I'm saying, you have to pay attention to the things that are going on. Like when I'm listening to these spirits, when AJ and Mary try to help these spirits in the spirit world, it's like we understand. We now have an understanding, like, hey, life does go on, as, you know, most people believe in the New Age. Life does go on, but people don't understand that it goes on in their spirit body. They believe they're just part of this energy, because this is how these beings are presenting the other side of the veil. And most people believe it because they're not there yet. Do you understand? This is, oh my gosh, hold on a second. All right. What was I saying before I turned that thing off? I don't know what I was saying. Anyway, I know I at one point I was talking about how I was wondering how AJ knew all this stuff, and the thing is, when someone channels information, they're getting information from the spirit world, right? We're not talking about whether it's true or not. We're just saying that we're getting more information about the spirit world, but it's coming from the spirit world. We're not getting information about the spirit world from Earth. We're getting it from the spirit realm. And so when we, all these police people, when we have so when AJ was talking, and he's not a channeled entity or a spirit being channeled, he's just a man here on Earth. I was like, how does he know this? And he's not, like, where's he getting all this stuff from? And so I had to ask myself this, you know, like, I have to listen to more. I have to find out how he knows all this stuff. And so the thing is, this is how we learn. Look, if you, my recommendation is to test out some of these things. Like, experiment with it, listen to some of these, universal laws, apply them, ask yourself, does this really work? And if it works, fine. If you feel it doesn't work, which I'm sure you'll find that it will work, but if you feel like, it makes sense, then go with it. It may be completely against what you have learned thus far in your life, but that's fine, because the whole point is to have truth. And so if this is allowing you to hold more truth, to have more truth, to have more love within your soul and release things that are preventing love from being in your soul, don't you think it's worth taking a little chance and trying to find out if this is actually true, if it actually works, instead of just saying, oh, this man, blah, 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 and he's not who he claims he is? There's no way for you to really know who he's claiming to be. The whole point is to have a life that is more loving, that is more positive. So that if that's the only thing that's important, who cares what his name is? Who cares if he's been in the spirit world 50,000 years, 2,000 years, or 50 years, or has ever been there at all? If what he is saying is helping you to make sense of your life, the life of others, and the world as a whole, don't you think you owe it to yourself to seek out that information, to listen to it, to try to give it a chance? Because if you give it a chance, that means you're giving yourself a chance. But if you just ignore everything and just want to listen to what people tell you at face value, then that's your choice. That's all I have to say about that. Like, that's your choice. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and put it in the comment section. And I'm more than willing to make video responses rather than, because it takes a lot of time to respond to comments. Because some of you guys ask some really deep questions that require a long answer, because things aren't always so cut and dry. To me they're cut and dry, but to explain them to someone who doesn't have the answer or have that knowledge, it's not as cut and dry. And so there's a lot of things that have to be shared. So that's why I prefer actually making a response video to that. And I made a video yesterday and I'll upload it, the one that someone had asked about Cryon and things like that. So I'll put both of these videos up, and then hopefully later on today, and then yeah, that's it. So have a great Thursday, everyone. One more day, just one more day. And yeah, that's it. Take care, everyone. Bye now.